rejection lands, it registers fully. There is a moment where nothing more is needed. The words have done their work. The presence feels complete. Then something in the body moves first, not an alarm, not in refusal, a subtle recoil, a quiet step back inside. The room feels slightly louder than before, the skin more alert. The edges of the self begin to return. Care does not disappear. Tenderness stays. But something inside has already started closing, not to protect against the other, but to protect what has just been felt, as if contact has reached its natural limit, as if staying would ask the breath to keep holding the same shape. And so, the body chooses space, not as distance, but as timing. Late afternoon, the cafe has thinned out. Light from the window stretches across the table, dust floating in it, slow and visible. 2 cups sit empty, the last sip already cooled the mouth. The conversation has ended without needing to be ended. There was laughter, then a pause that felt right, then a shared silence that did not strain. The body leans back before the mind notices. A shoulder releases. The spine settles into the chair. Breath changes, shorter, more contained. Room seems to come back online. The scrape of a chair nearby. The clink of a spoon. Hands that were open rest closer to the body now. Fingers curl slightly. Not tight, just closer in. Nothing is wrong. Nothing has shifted between the two. And yet, a gentle pressure moves inward, as if the moment has been fully received and placed somewhere safe. When standing to leave, the step back is already there, a half beat of space, an unspoken easing apart. Outside, air touches the face differently, cooler, more distinct. Walking away, the chest feels full and slightly held, as if carrying something delicate, as if motion itself is a way of keeping it intact. There is a kind of contact that completes itself. Not everything asks to be extended. Not every connection wants to stretch into more. Sometimes the body recognizes that the exchange has landed, that nothing remains unfinished. A fullness settles, quiet, dense. In that fullness, there is no hunger, no reach. Staying longer would not deepen it. It would only ask the body to hold the same sensation past its natural duration. Completion has a feeling. It is not excitement. It is not relief. It is a soft finality, a sense of having arrived. When that feeling appears, the system begins to close its doors gently, not to shut something out, but to mark the moment has been received, like placing a hand over a flame just long enough to feel warmth, then pulling back before heat becomes burn. The movement away is not a decision. It is a response to having fully arrived. Withdrawal often arrives after the closeness has already passed through, not as preparation, not as defense, but as regulation. The body does not only know how to open, it also knows how to settle. After contact, something has to settle into the ribs. The breath needs time to find its own length again. Space becomes part of that process, a step back, a turning inward, a narrowing of attention. These movements are not refusals. They are adjustments, like dimming a room after the lights have been bright, like lowering sound once music has ended. The closeness has already happened. It does not need guarding against. What follows is the body returning to its own perimeter, re-establishing edges so the experience can be held without spilling. The timing matters. Too soon would interrupt. Too late would strain. When the movement comes at its right moment, it feels almost graceful, unremarkable, easy to miss. Care does does not evaporate when distance appears. Often, it becomes more precise. When the body steps back, the feeling remains inside, contained rather than expressed. Warmth shifts location, from the space between to the space within. This can look like cooling, but internally, the tone is still alive. There is a quiet holding, a preservation. Distance allows care to exist without demand, without effort. The connection is no longer active, but it is not gone. It rests. It settles into memory, into muscle, into the way the next breath feels. There is no conflict here, no opposition between closeness and space. They are part of the same movement. One completes the other. What was shared does not need to be proven again in the next moment. It simply needs room to remain what it was. Staying past the body's stopping point has a cost. It is subtle at first, a faint tightening, a thinning of presence. The moment begins to stretch beyond its own shape. Instead of fullness, the chest thins out. The body notices this before the mind assigns meaning. A slight irritation, a restless shift, a need to change position. These are not signs of disconnection. They are signals of saturation. When they are ignored, something precious can flatten. What was clean becomes noisy. What was complete becomes heavy. Pulling away at the right moment protects the quality of what occurred. It allows the connection to end as itself, not as something strained. The withdrawal is not the loss. It is the boundary that keeps the contact intact. Stopping here is an act of fidelity to the moment that already happened. In a parked car at night, engine off, dashboard lights dim. The conversation has just ended. Laughter still echoes faintly in the ears. Hands rest on the steering wheel longer than needed. The chest feels open, then slowly firms. Breath shortens, not anxious, contained. The street outside looks unchanged, yet attention pulls inward. A moment passes where starting the car would feel like too much. Eventually the key turns. Headlights cut through the dark. The body settles into motion, carrying something unsaid without needing to return. Early morning, a familiar kitchen, coffee drips. The room smells warm and quiet. Yesterday held closeness, shared time, unremarkable and full. Now there is no urge to reach out, no absence, just a soft, inward curve. Shoulders round slightly as the mug is lifted. The first sip lands heavy and grounding. Thoughts move slowly. The silence feels earned, but also a little thick. Something tender floats just beneath the surface, unspoken, kept company by routine. A hallway at work, fluorescent light, muted footsteps, a brief exchange by the printer. Understanding passes quickly. A nod, a half smile. The body warms, then cools. Walking away, the pace changes. Slower, more deliberate. A swallow arrives late, barely noticed. At the desk, fingers hover before typing resumes. A pause long enough for the sensation to register, then dissolve. After closeness, there's often a quiet relief. The relief of having felt, of having arrived somewhere real without staying too long. The body loosens, as if a circuit has completed. After retreat, another layer appears, a mild hollowness. Not grief, not regret, just the absence of stimulation, noticed because something meaningful preceded it. The space feels clean and slightly stark. Later still, after time has passed, memory takes a softer form. The connection becomes less vivid, more integrated. It lives in posture, in tone, in how easily breath drops lower. The withdrawal made this possible. It allowed the experience to settle instead of scatter. And yet, there are moments when the quiet feels like a missed opportunity, not because more was needed, but because the cost of protection is a certain aloneness. The same movement that preserves intimacy also narrows the field. Relief and loneliness arrive from the same gesture. The shoulders drop. Then the room feels too quiet. The body knows when to step back. It does not always account for the longing that follows. Both truths coexist. Neither cancels the other. The tension remains, not a problem, not a puzzle, just a lived interval between contact and solitude where something meaningful continues to pulse, unresolved. It can show up as temperature, how warmth gathers and recedes, how skin remembers even when contact has ended, or as pacing, the way steps slow after connection, the way pauses lengthen, as if the system is recalibrating. There are moments when allowing silence to sit without filling it feels like an act of care. Silence, not as absence, but as a resting place. In routine tasks, the residue of closeness may appear unexpectedly. A steadier hand, a softer jaw, a brief tenderness toward the ordinary. Nothing needs to be done with these signs. They move through on their own. The experience can also be met by letting distance feel physical. The space between rooms, the space between messages, the space inside the chest. Each has its own texture. Each holds what it can. Eventually, attention returns to the body, to weight, to breath, to the quiet architecture inside. Distance settles, not as emptiness, but as a form of containment. Beneath it, something steady remains, a memory without urgency, a care without demand. The body carries it forward, not reaching, not closing completely, just holding, just moving on.